Hello, everybody. We're back on. That's Danny.
Why am I being on again?
I told Danny.
I know I'm a ham.
You saw right before this. You're going to see a video that I'm calling an old friend of mine, Bobby, and I'm over there. I went to White Castle, driving through the parking lot. I went in. I didn't see anybody, and I called them the White Castle crew. Danny, this is a long story. I'm going to have him maybe tell it. There is a reason that Danny moved his office to Burger King, okay? I met Danny with all those other guys. I referred to them as the senior crew as opposed to the street guys you see me with. I met Danny when he was at White Castle a few years ago, and there was a nice little group of guys. But anyway, I'm concerned because on the other video I'm talking to my friend and I'm referring to him as Bobby.
I think his name is Bob. We always call him Bob. That's throwing me off.
What I tell
Bobby.
So anyway, I tell Bob, well, I'm calling Bobby. I tell him that we did a little video about his dog. He shared on the video about his dog.
And he loved his mother.
And how he was depressed about the dog passing away.
Yes.
So I did a little video, 5-6 minutes. Then I come over to Burger King, which is right down the street, and I tell Danny, I said, oh, I just seen old Bobby. Now, these guys have known each other they've been around for years. And Danny looks at me and he says, Bob, who's Bob? And I said, well, you know, the guy with the dog who passed away. So then he's telling me that's not his name. And then and I feel bad because I'm thinking, oh, I've been calling him the wrong name. And then Danny tells me it might be Billy. And he's telling me it's not Bobby. So I'm feeling guilty. And then he tells me, well, it's Bob.
I believe. Yeah.
Which means I was correct.
Off.
You had me.
You were right.
Okay.
But we call other people Bobby, but we always called him Bill.
No, it's not.
Wait a minute.
It's not.
I think his name is Bill.
It's not Bill.
I don't care what you call me, so long as you don't call me late for supper.
I know it's not Bill, and he says, Danny, he's always got little items. This item, so he shows it to me. When you see me taking the videos in the car, if you catch on that rear view mirror, I have an old police whistle. I got that from Danny a few years ago. Yes, and so that's why he's got like items that
antiques.
Yes, things that are for sale for people that are
that
interested.
Whistle that you took a liking to was called the Bobby whistle.
Yes,
Bobby's used it in England.
Yes, that's why I'm thinking Bobby when I'm talking about. This, how much did you pay for this wonderful item?
$2.50.
And tell all my friends how you said it fell off the truck.
Yes, I told it fell off the truck, but he didn't know what I was talking about, but everybody else knows. It didn't fall off the truck. It wasn't stolen.
I know.
It wasn't.
Now let me
One
today.
of the rare things that wasn't stolen.
I did the whole New York City yesterday.
Oh, and
I walked to the United Nations. I went to St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Wonderful.
I took videos for my
they
friends.
just did it over. You see
I walked the East River, Central. It's nice, Central Park. I did all the spots and Broadway and took videos. You can walk all of the main spots, which I wouldn't get on buses to go to those. It'd take too long. I just walk. There is a trick. I made all the spots fairly quickly. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic on the trick, and there's some New Yorkers that do it. If you walk on the curb, which probably some people wouldn't want to do, but if you walk on the curb of the sidewalk, and sometimes you just get into the street for a few seconds, you can walk fast, but you can't make it that fast. All those pictures you showed me post yesterday, everybody, I just walked to all those spots. But if you're walking in the pedestrian traffic, sometimes you have to do that. Then it takes a while because it's really, and people had umbrellas out, raining.
Oh, it was terrible.
You had to be careful because people walk past you with the umbrellas and it'll poke you right in the eye. Okay.
I think you're right about Bobby. Only we always called him Bob. I'm getting old. I can get away with anything. Now, you start talking about walking in New York. Did I tell you the joke?
Go ahead.
About the two nuns in Ireland.
This is your limelight.
The two nuns in Ireland and one of them said to the other, "We're going to America." Did I tell you that joke?
I don't remember.
You're gonna love this.
He
joke.
does that a lot. Did I tell you? And I tell him
anyway,
I don't
I'll
remember.
tell it real fast.
No, just
So one of the nuns says, "I'm not going to America." So the other one says, "Why not? This is an opportunity." She says, "They eat dogs in America." So she says, "They don't eat dogs." Listen, we're going. You can't say turn it down. You know, the two nuns. So they're in New York doing what you're doing. You reminded me. The cathedral in New York and walking up and down and taking a look at New York, and they see this guy in the corner yelling, "Hot dogs for sale."
oh,
So one of the nuns said, what did I say? I told you they eat dogs in America." She says, "Well, let's go see what it is." And they happened to have them all pre-wrapped. So we handed it to them. They paid him for it. And one of the nuns goes in the corner of St. Patrick's Cathedral.
oh.
As a matter of fact, this is going to be terrible what I'm going to say.
Go ahead. Yes.
So she opened her package, and she said to the other nun, "What part of the dog did you get?"
Do you see? And Danny thinks I don't post these. I do because
I know.
every video
But anyway,
goes up.
we're all adults.
Yes,
Anyway,
I said that.
Did
and
you
so-
like that joke?
And I reminded you
What
because of
part
St.
of the
Patrick's.
dog did you get? I think that's funny.
Danny, now my Texas friends are going to know this.
That's from Classic Glycicles or something. No,
I don't know if he knows this. I'm going to inform Danny. You know this. Okay,
What?
Texas knows it. There are restaurants where I live because you have a lot of Mexican restaurants and some are. You will possibly at times get cats or dogs,
really?
Correct.
Cats or dogs, those parts?
not maybe mixed
I
in
know
certain
the
types
Chinese
of.
are noted for cats and
You
dogs.
might.
Not that part. I
No,
didn't know that.
but just you might get some of the Asian cuisine. Yeah, you're right. But that's kind of like a thing in Texas. If you go, not normally, but if you go to a really especially if you go into Mexico, you might get a dog or a cat, in the meat. It's a possibility. So that's actually something that.
Well, anyway,
happens
this
sometimes.
joke, I didn't say anything
Yes.
vulgar or curse or anything.
No,
it
you-
was your
This
imagination.
this joke is going to go up. This will go up. I've done worse
So
on
if
my.
anybody should
You
be
invited-
chastised, it's it's
see
the
how long.
listener of the joke.
But I wasn't going to do another video with Danny because you already seen him, but Beanie had me so upset that I was calling him Bobby and a Bob and
Now, I think you're right. I'm going to concede that you're right. His name is Bob, but we never called him Bobby. And
they've
that's
known
what
each
we
other
want.
for years, and he's got me worried about that. Danny, do you want to tell? I'll go kind of short. Do you want to tell why you are now at Burger King as opposed to when you used to be at White Castle all the time?
Only because there's more room here and
It's
there's
a better-
more business.
It's a better office.
It's a better office, and nobody told me to leave there. There's a rumor that they told me to leave.
No, yes,
never happened.
that was there's the guys have all stories they say, oh, this one is over there, this one, but I'm friends with all of them, even if they have their own little spats every now and then.
Yeah, well, they just assumed that because I used to spend a lot of time there.
Yes.
I used to go there after I came here. I'd come here first, and then I'd go there. But I haven't
give
been
me-
there in a couple of years.
Well, we'll do a little. I'm not going to teach on this, but if I remember, yesterday, Danny, when I first talked to him, but I didn't stay long because I was going to the city, but he talked a little bit mentioned a little on Einstein, which I do on the videos, a little on Einstein. And then the verse, we got into the book of Ecclesiastes. He mentioned something, but I told him, I said, that's a quote from the Bible, which is the book of Ecclesiastes.
Imagination
That's the Einstein one.
is better than knowledge.
Yes.
Now, knowledge is great.
That was a quote from Einstein. And what I told Danny, which you all know, you watch the videos, I said, I just talked about that. A few weeks ago on one of the videos, I mentioned Einstein, and I said, Einstein said the thought experiments that he had were where he got his breakthroughs from, as opposed, he was critical. Einstein was critical of physicists just studying the books of other physicists, because what he said was the breakthroughs in science, and I've done the scientific revolution on the video, he said they come from new thought, new thinking. Now, Einstein was a professor, one of the professors of John Nash, who, that's when Einstein was teaching here in New Jersey. You knew he taught here?
Vaguely, I remember. I don't know where.
Okay, Princeton University. And Einstein, when he was teaching at Princeton, the famous physicist John Nash, who passed away in New Jersey this last year on a car wreck on the highway in New Jersey. I talked about that. Did you know that?
I'm going to tell you what happened in Princeton with Einstein and John Nash.
Do you know John Nash?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know he died on a car wreck here in New Jersey?
No, John Nash was a scientist.
That's famous physicist.
Well, he asked Einstein,
yes,
if he believed in God or not. Isn't this a great story?
I'll have a quote too. Go ahead.
Oh, you probably heard the quote.
Not maybe. Go ahead.
And they were talking about that.
Yeah.
And anyway, he wouldn't say exactly if he did or not.
I think.
But he did say, "I would like to know what God's thoughts are."
Look, let me.
You knew that.
No, but let me. I'll do a little teaching on this.
Okay.
Some of the earliest scientists and some of the earliest thinkers who are Christians actually said that the pursuit of science and knowledge was to know the thoughts of God.
There you go.
And that was actually kind of a heritage of people saying that.
Yes.
Einstein's famous. I read a biography from Einstein, which I still have at the house, but it was from Walter Isaacson, which is not a Christian writer particularly or anything, and I believe Walter Isaacson also has commentary sometimes in the New York Times. But when I read the book, it was a great book. I was surprised that there were so many quotes and references to Einstein and God in that book. And when I read it, I said, if that book was written by some preacher, I would have doubted it, because there were so many references. But being it was Walter Isaacson who wrote that book, I said it was an amazing. Einstein's known for one famous quote about God. I'm going to teach a little. You can listen. There were two, at the time of Einstein and the great breakthroughs, there was another very famous physicist, also mathematician physicist. Many of these men excelled in both fields, including Einstein. But one of the men was called Niels Bohr, okay? Niels Bohr, in the field of science, back at the time of Einstein, is also very famous. Niels Bohr had a huge disagreement with Albert Einstein, because Niels Bohr believed a couple of things that contradict what we call the law of logic, the music's loud. Niels Bohr said you can embrace a contradiction, that something can be one thing and something can be another thing. And Niels Bohr said that was a great, you're intelligent if you can believe 2 points of a certain issue. Well, that contradicted what we call the law, one of the laws of logic, which is called the law of non-contradiction. Albert Einstein, the reason it's going to make sense is he said, here's the quote, God does not roll dice, okay? God does not roll dice. The reason Einstein made that quote was Niels Bohr, as well as some other physicists, believed there was no order to the cosmos and no design. And in apologetics, I call that, we say that's teleology. What that comes from the Greek word telos, for end, purpose, or design. I said I was going to teach a little. I'll teach real quick, then we'll talk. So Einstein said, no, I'm seeking the purpose. I'm looking, and it was called Einstein's unified theory. I'm looking for a purpose behind everything. And he said, in the quote, God does not roll dice, he disagreed with Niels Bohr and said, if we keep seeking, we're going to find the reason for the design that we see, the reason for the things that happen. That's what made me think about it. Okay.
Now, here's a quote that you have not heard from
Yes.
Einstein.
Yes.
I bet you didn't hear it.
Maybe not.
He said evolution
Yes.
is just a theory, kind of like gravity.
I am going to tell you, listen, I've taught some of this on my site.
Yes.
Gravity,
Kind of like gravity.
dark matter, dark energy, gravity, many things, electricity, many things that we think we know, we don't really know. And that quote, particularly I'm not familiar with, but you might think that Einstein was...
Putting down
you might think he was
evolution.
correct. He could have been saying, which some other physicists say, we don't know a lot about gravity. Some physicists today, the smart guys, the smart scientists will tell you, we think we know about gravity. We think we know everything about gravity. Some will say, to be honest,
It's just a theory.
correct, because we put certain definitions to things, even in science, and we don't necessarily know everything about those definitions. And if I were to say, we think we know what energy is, because we understand, especially in some Einstein's breakthroughs about how matter, the great ones, can be transformed into energy. But when you even think of some of these definitions, some of the great thinkers have said, we don't even know the definitions we're putting on some things that we take for granted. So I'm not surprised
I'm going
about
to leave you with this thought.
that. Go ahead.
Don't believe everything you think.
I agree with this.
In a few words.
I agree with this.
That's what you just said.
I'm going to quote a verse at the end. Lean not unto your own understanding, but acknowledge God in all your ways, and He will direct your paths. Don't believe everything you think. You quoted a verse, Danny.
I know.
Danny claims to be an atheist.
Inadvertently.
So that's, I'm going to end it. Any
No,
last?
I'm going to end it with this.
Yes, go ahead.
Kissing
Okay.
is a pleasant reminder that two heads are better than one.
Danny's, I
You can
interact,
quote me on
but I
that.
like it. Danny's going to be famous. Okay, I did another video of that. Hopefully you're going to see Nick. I'm going to ask Nick before I go back to Texas.
Yes.
I want him to play the guitar. I got him on look, I have him on video doing the guitar song a few years ago.
Yes.
And I want to get him again because then he gets a little exposure and people could see Nick. Nick's very talented.
He is very talented.
Look, he can
also
sing.
plays the flute.
He's very gifted, Nick.
He is gifted.
Okay, that's it. I'm going to keep talking to Danny.